Welcome back to DotLife. We are talking today about queer life in Dorchester in honor of Pride Month. So joining me today are Kacie King, the president of DotOut. Hi, Kacie.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Hammad Ahmed, the founder of Forge.
Hi, Erin. It's really good to be here.
It's great to have you. Really excited to talk about the projects you guys are working on. But let's start with some quick introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Are you Dorchester people? Get kind of the highlights. So, Kacie, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. So like you just said, my name is Kacie King. I use she or they. And I have been a Dorchester resident since 2012. And excluding a couple semesters abroad, I've been here ever since. I have, as long as I'm not priced out, no intention of leaving at any point.
And are you in the Ashmont
Yes.
Adams neighborhood? You're one of my neighbors.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
Awesome.
right behind the Ashmont fire station.
Perfect. Great spot.
Yeah.
We'll have to hang after this.
Absolutely, yes.
I am not a neighbor, but I'm close.
Very close.
So I'm at Melville Park, which is one of my favorite spots in Dorchester.
It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah. I have been in Dorchester since 2014.
Okay.
That's when I moved to Boston with my husband, and we've been in Dorchester the whole time.
Very cool. And you moved were you in Boston before, or were you?
I moved from D.C., and he
From
moved
DC.
from Denver. We were actually long distance looking for a city to move, and we picked Boston, out of a random
Okay,
selection. of cities.
unpack that for me. Why Boston?
I know everyone asked that because it's not the first city you'd pick, but it has really good access to nature, like skiing and beaches and mountains. He's an architect.
Okay.
And I was in education, and so it actually had really good jobs for us too.
Yeah.
And then finally, flights out of Logan to our parents and to Europe were really cheap. So.
I think Logan is the best airport in the States, and
Thank
I
you.
will die on that hill. It is accessible by the train. The number of times I've flown into Denver and you have to drive an hour to get to the city after you land, I
Right?
don't want to drive after I land. I want autonomy.
Yes.
I don't want an Uber. I want a train.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Logan is key.
Sometimes when I think about moving, I'm like, but then Logan.
Yeah. It's a pretty good deal.
It is. So tell me about DotOut.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here. We were founded in 2004, right around the same time that same-sex marriage became legal in Massachusetts. While I wasn't around for the beginning half, I've had the pleasure of getting to know it in its, 20th plus years. And it's been just such an incredible opportunity. I have made so many incredible connections being in DotOut. I started probably around 2020 of actually paying attention to it and realized that it existed. One of my neighbors, Stephanie, was on the board, and she and her wife kept bringing it up. Not at all in a pushy way, because they're totally going to hear this, but in a way of I should join. And they were so right, I should join. And I haven't looked back since.
So you're one of those, if I join, I'm taking over people? Is that?
Yeah. For better or worse, that's definitely me. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, perfect.
So what does DotOut do?
So we were founded. I'm not even sure if I should speak on founding, since I was 10 years old when that happened.
Yeah.
But the last few years, we've been operating off of 4 pillars: political, social, civic, and charitable. Those have been going pretty well, especially pre-pandemic. I think a lot of organizations, small nonprofits, even larger nonprofits, had a really hard time during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of our programming had died down, which just happened to be the time that I was learning about it. Mm-hmm. So from my very, very limited view of it, I haven't really had the chance to experience much of the programming. It's all downhill from here. Here we are. We're killing it, and I'm really excited about how many connections that I've made throughout it. All of the folks that I've gotten to speak to because of it, talking with some of the founding members. Now, since I stepped up as president, especially as a woman, because DotOut is majority men, especially majority cisgendered men. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to expand our programming that is more inclusive of all genders, of all sexualities, of all ages, of different community aspects of the queer community. There's a lot of us that are sober, so I want to be able to offer more spaces for those kind of folks, especially even though I do drink myself. I really thrive on just a session, hanging out in a library, hanging out in a park. There's so many cool things to do without a drink in your hand. I don't know where this weird undertone is coming from, but I stand by it. And also, just purely logistically speaking, we are going to, for the time being, drop the fourth pillar of political because we're trying to get back into being on the up and up with a 501c3 status. And just from my personal background, I have experience running a 501c3. And the thought of running a 501c4 is terrifying with all of the different... It's a
whole different animal.
Yeah, with like the ratios of how much you can time and effort you can spend working for particular campaigns. So for the moment, we're going to be dropping the political. So that doesn't mean we're not advocating still. We are just not going to be able to back very specific candidates at this time.
Okay.
So still very, very similar work. We're just... for the time being, going to drop that part just so that we can kind of get our legs back under us after the pandemic, getting programming back up and running and looking legit in the eyes of the IRS, our dear friend.
And Hammad, Kacie spoke about spaces and maybe even particularly sober spaces for LGBTQ plus people. Who knows that better than you? Because talk about what you are starting.
Yeah, I love when you mention that, Kacie, that we do have a number of bars, nightclubs, and drinking spots as a queer community, but I'm trying to open something different. So Forge is a bathhouse and a wellness center, and it's going to be a space to meet that's not an app or a party. It's going to be a quiet place to let down your guard and really be yourself. And I'm not looking to serve alcohol there. Like imagine like a sauna, steam room, spa vibe.
Like this room right now?
Exactly. Like this times 10.
Yep.
There's something about steam that breaks down people's barriers, and it like loosens you up.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need in Boston. We can be a little cold and a little standoffish. And it's not always drinking that helps. Sometimes it's just relaxing and being together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, bathhouse is part of gay culture, queer culture. Can you talk about that kind of history with bathhouses and that connotation of why is a bathhouse associated with gay culture?
I think from the very beginning, bathhouses existed to provide like public health, like hygiene services.
People didn't have tubs
correct.
or showers in their house.
Yeah, which is hard to imagine now because all houses have more bathrooms than bedrooms, I feel. But yeah, in those days, people would go to publicly bathe. And especially queer people, I feel like you could have made a lot of connections in that particular space because, again, people let down their guard. They're partly clothed. What's happened is that over the
there is something about partial nudity that also kind of opens up the conversation flow a little bit, right? When you're all in the same situation.
I feel like we're all going to start stripping now in the studio.
Don't tempt me.
It is definitely hot enough to do that.
And so what happened was the queer community started opening our own bathhouses just for us, which was, I think, an offshoot of the public health hygiene thing. But cities across the U.S. and in Europe had them. A lot of them shut down during the AIDS crisis in the U.S., but you still find them in every city in the U.S., basically except for Boston.
Why is that? In your opinion, I know you.
Yeah, so many reasons. I think one of the main reasons is because of development. Honestly, there's a lot of pressure on real estate. It's not just bathhouses. We lost so many queer spaces in the last 10 years because of condos and biotech and real estate.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it is a difficult thing to open a business in Boston that has any hint of sexuality or sex positivity. We just have a little bit of a puritanical background.
We sure do.
We do, right? And so I think that's okay. We can acknowledge that, but there's a lot of support right now in the community for a space like this.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Do you have a location yet? Like, where are you in the process?
I would love a location in Dorchester.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm looking for a 5,000 to 10,000 square foot box, basically.
Okay.
And Dorchester does have some spots like that. I don't have a specific property that I can tell you about, but like areas, Fields Corner, Ashmont would be great. And I'm working with developers and real estate people to find one.
Cool. That's great. Well, let us know how we can help. We'd love to support that. Let's talk a little bit more broadly about just queer life in Dorchester. So I know Boston has always, or has for a long time, been a fairly queer-friendly area.
Right.
What about Dorchester in particular? Do you know any of the history?
Yeah, on the history front, I don't know a lot, but I think it goes possibly without saying is that there's been queer people here as long as people have been here. With a quick Google before the show was about 10,000 years ago.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah, that's a lot of years of queer people.
It is.
We've been here ever since.
And it's been the exact same queer people. You and I have been here that
You look
whole
great
time.
for your age.
Thank you so much.
I know that Dorchester has been behind the scenes a little bit, but has always been very queer. This is anecdotal, but I feel like the areas of Jones Hill, Savin Hill, Melville Park in particular, have always had really queer strongholds. And of course, there have been tons of people of color and working class people who lived in Dorchester who've been queer. I'm thinking of the folks who have been priced out of the South End.
Right.
I'm thinking about the folks who wanted to raise a family and needed a house, and also the people who wanted a project. You know, queers, we love home renovation.
Yes, we do.
We love a project, and so
So
Dorchester has really welcomed that.
Yeah, definitely. How is the visibility and the resources in the Dorchester area for queer populations, how has that changed over time? Have you seen more accessibility? And what kinds of places are there for people who live here and want resources?
Yeah. Do you want to take that first or should I?
Yeah, I think I've seen really promising trends lately. We have a new bookstore in Fields Corner called Just Bookish, which is queer-owned, BIPOC-owned, and women-owned. And that bookstore has felt... You know this, Kacie, because you host a storytelling session there.
Yes, we do. Dot Stories.
Yeah, that felt like such a game changer to have a queer space like that in the neighborhood.
Not to mention a bookstore. How did we not have a bookstore before?
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. in
It
there.
is. It is. And she serves wine, right?
Yes.
Very recently. It's very exciting.
You can read a book and have wine and be queer.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We've always had Peggy O'Neill's. Bless Peggy O'Neill's, but they changed to Blend 5 years ago because it was an Irish pub that had a monthly gay night. And I don't know the history of it, but they decided to just lean in fully to the
good.
gay. So
Okay.
now Blend is one of our big spots for nightlife and bars and like drag brunch.
Yep. And D-Bar is not far from there. Right?
Yeah. So you have kind of like a little Rainbow Road, essentially, from D-Bar to Just Bookish. And I have to tell you both, I learned this from Jackie, who's the Fields Corner Main Street Executive Director. We're getting a rainbow crosswalk in Fields Corner next year.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, there's going to be like a big party. They're doing a lot of programming, but it's going to be on Dorchester Avenue at Linden Street.
Okay.
It's going to be a pedestrian crossing to commemorate the queer history of Dorchester. So
That's fantastic.
like we are on the
love
map.
that.
for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. Anything that you would add to that, Kacie?
Yes and no. It's kind of a tricky thing to wrap my head around because within the queer community there are so many different identities. A person is not just their sexuality. I feel like I don't really have to say that, but I have to say it to
It
start
doesn't hurt.
where I'm going. Yeah. As a cisgendered, pansexual white woman, I feel like there aren't very many spaces for queer women. And
Boston didn't have a lesbian bar until
Last
year. Yeah.
yeah. And it's still only one.
And it's far away.
It is far.
It's too far.
It's far. If I had any restaurant experience whatsoever other than Friendly's and Cold Stone Creamery, that would totally have been where I would have gone with this. But I can't. It's
not gonna happen.
It's not happening.
Okay.
Not for me, at least. I hope someone else does.
Yeah.
I would love if someone else does. But it doesn't, I guess, speaking towards my identity as a non-man, it doesn't feel like there are very many queer-friendly spaces for me and other folks that identify similarly to me.
Yeah.
I've been finding queer community has been really existing in just a handful of people's living rooms, which is
Lovely.
right. And I love it because I am definitely a couch potato. I love sitting on the couch with some good friends, maybe some Demetrios or Kapow, I know that that was your later question, but
That's okay.
That's my go-to. That is my
Okay.
idea of a fantastic Friday night. Boxed wine. Maybe we're giving each other like presentations on different topics.
That
like,
checks out for you.
Yeah. That is so my scene. I go to like a nightclub. I try for once a year, just so I don't lose the touch.
That's ambitious.
And I went to Danny's when it first opened, and I'll
That's
probably
the lesbian bar that we were talking about.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'll probably go again towards the end of this year, and then again in 2027.
I like that you have it planned out.
Yeah.
Nice. There are spaces in JP. I know.
Yes.
Was it
Midway Cafe.
Midway?
Yes,
has
I
a
used to be there
karaoke
every
night.
Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. They used to have. It's now the Haven. What was it before? It was Milky Way. Was it Milky Way?
Yeah.
And that closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they,
That was
I
sad.
think that was like a nightly. That was like a blend, right? Like it was just queer all the time, not nights of queer.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think Dorchester Brewing Company has a ladies' tea dance.
Yes.
Some Sundays out of the month.
Yeah, I've
I've
been a
never
couple
been.
times.
Really? How is
Yeah.
it?
It's fun. I feel like I don't count it as fully going out because I don't have to wear heels and it is still in Dorchester. So I feel like it doesn't count, which matters nothing at all. But it's a good time. It's a great
Yeah.
time. Beth, who runs Lesbian Nightlife, throws those just really incredible parties. They're so inclusive. And it's just so nice to walk into a bar and it is like 95% not men. No offense.
I don't take any offense. Yeah.
I didn't think you would, but just, it's really nice to walk
Yeah.
into a space where you are just so thoroughly represented. It is, it's not to put a bad name to Blend or D-Bar or anything, but I have never experienced that there. Never. Hope if they hear this, maybe they reach out, want to schedule a
Maybe a DotOut collab.
yeah. Oh,
Kind of fun.
the wheels are turning.
But I
I
take
think
your
they
point.
would because the owners of Blend are actually a lesbian couple.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
So I think they might
way.
be interested.
Oh my god.
I talked to the owner of Danny's Queer Bar last week, and do you know what she said? Like,
What?
she is so refreshingly honest, and she said, gay men spend more money. And so as a
Oh,
business
that's
owner,
totally facts.
you have
Yeah.
to, like, take that into account.
Wow.
which is sad.
But it does make sense.
It does.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I take your point about not finding as many spaces for gay men are very well represented generally, but there's also the intersectionality of race and gender identity. So how do you guys think about those factors? You mentioned
Yeah, I relate to you so much, Kacie, in the sense that when I moved to Boston in 2014, I didn't see a lot of representation of people like me, specifically South Asian.
Yeah.
I definitely felt like the only one in the room at gay spaces. And I have been so grateful to see that change over the past 10 years because of work by people like Lamb Ramming at Men of Melanin Magic, which is now Frolic, and other people who've started building community around queer people of color. I remember us calling it cutie pock at some point. Do we still say that?
I've
queer
never
and
heard
trans
it,
people
but
of color.
I really like it.
Really?
I like that a lot.
Cutie pock. But yeah, people have since 2020 and since the racial reckoning after George Floyd's murder and Black Lives Matter, I felt a difference in the city that has been really refreshing of people centering and making space for queer people of color. So I just want to see that trend continue.
Yeah. You mentioned Men of.
Yeah, Men of Melanin Magic.
Okay, I love that
Is
name.
great. Yeah. He is such a good
Queer
marketer.
people have the best puns. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, we invent language, as it turns out. Like all slang comes from queer people.
Yes.
Yeah,
die on that
so
hill.
it's like now it's a national organization, but it started in Boston.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they did basically takeovers of different spaces, which have now become institutionalized. So when you go to Legacy on Friday, that is Bust Down Friday, and that is a Black and people of color space
Okay.
for queers. Other organizations exist like that. It's a Vibe is a version of that for Black women and women of color. And the more that I work on Forge, the more I'm meeting community people who've just taken it into their own hands to create these
Yes.
communities and spaces.
Yes.
Do you guys find that the city enables this sort of thing or supports it, or is it kind of just like you just talked about, like it's individuals kind of doing their own thing and the city's just not getting in the way tremendously much unless it is sex positive, and then they are getting in the way?
It's, I feel like Boston is trying its best as a city, but it's like I said, with the real estate and the pressures on landlords and developers, I think it's just very hard. So people are kind of having to take it into their own hands.
And no real initiative for them to, and we've talked about the lack of musical and artist spaces as well, but I feel like the same thing, like they need to be intentional about creating queer spaces and making it easier.
Right.
We have a mayor's office of LGBTQIA2S plus advancement. I don't know if you've ever interacted with them.
I have visited their website, and I believe that's where our interaction has ended.
Same. I have tried to reach out 3 times, and I have not heard back yet. So I think the city is like maybe at capacity or something.
Yeah, that could be.
The libraries are where it seems like they're really starting to organize. I think especially because I come from a background of youth work.
Okay.
So I have spent a lot of time in mostly the Dorchester and Roxbury Boston Public Libraries. And they're like really, really starting to stand up for the kids, stand up for anybody. I think last year I watched a head librarian not face off, because that makes it sound violent, but a woman came in so enraged that there was going to be a drag queen doing a reading for the kids.
Oh my God.
And the librarian just stood there, like head held high, like, we understand that you're not comfortable with it, but we are, and we're going to move forward. The kids are going to have a great
don't
time.
Come if you don't want to come.
It's safe. The woman who was super enraged was like, it's not safe for the kids.
Oh, wow.
Like, I can think of so many other things that are not safe for the kids, but you're probably fine with anyway. It's not the drag queens.
So that's a really good transition to my next question.
Okay.
This is not the most forward-thinking progressive time in America, and I would even go so far as to say it is quite hostile toward particularly trans members of the queer community, but also others. How are you seeing that manifesting in Dorchester or Boston? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, I have a nephew who is trans who moved to Boston from Alabama because they were trying to escape the kind of general hostility that you're seeing around the U.S. So Boston is still seen as a beacon of hope and a place where you can get healthcare and education and rights.
That's wonderful,
yeah,
by the way.
Absolutely.
Love that.
I'm really proud of him. But also, like, it's very expensive here compared to Alabama. And so, he's been struggling to like find a job to afford rent and all the things. And so I just wonder about that. I wonder about the influx of people that we're going to have. A lot of them are going to move to Dorchester because it is affordable compared to other neighborhoods. And are we ready for to welcome them with open arms? Do we have enough housing and jobs? That's like a wondering. I don't know.
As a future employer, something to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Does DotOut have trans-specific programming?
We don't yet.
Okay.
And that is definitely a pain point for me, and I'm sure a lot of the trans community in Dorchester. We're starting to make teeny tiny steps in what I feel like is the right direction. A little bit more representation, hopefully to come on the board in our membership in general. Something that had bothered me a little bit about DotOut is when you look at the census, which is on its own racist and has so many problems, but looking just at the census numbers from whenever the last one was in Boston, one of the largest, I guess harping back to race for just a second, but the biggest piece of the pie was the BIPOC community. And I've heard from so many folks that are not white cis men that DotOut is a cis white gay man club. And that is something that I really want to tackle first and foremost.
And that's based on its history, right? It really was for a long time mostly run by cis white gay men. Yeah.
Currently, I am the only not cis white gay man on the board.
Okay.
Which isn't saying much because I am still a cis white woman. So the diversity is still...
It's 1 degree.
Barely. But there's been a lot of interest of folks of color, folks that are trans, folks of so many different backgrounds other than cis white men are starting to be really interested. And I feel like I'm starting to win over different individual folks who then, of course, come with an army of their community, of folks that represent them more, of folks that look like them more. I hope for those folks who are hearing this right now and feel like DotOut hasn't been representing you, hasn't felt like a place for you, that it starts to feel like a place for you. Please reach out if you feel like you are ready to take even the tiniest of action steps. Probably the easiest action step is just signing up for our newsletter on our website, dotout.org, or following us on Instagram, following us on Facebook. And if you are feeling a sudden urge of you want to take big steps, board applications are coming out soon, and we would love to see your name in that pile of applications.
So we've talked a lot about what's here. Let's talk about what's not here for the queer community. There are some clubs, but I would say it's the bare minimum. Like, I've been to a lot of other much more equipped cities and gay areas, and Dorchester just doesn't really have it.
Yeah, it's ironic because now Boston is a sanctuary city for the LGBTQ community, which I have to thank the city council. That's incredible. Thank you.
It is incredible.
But it feels like lip service when you can count the number of queer spaces on your fingers.
Yeah.
And you're like, what does it actually mean to be a sanctuary city at this point?
Do you think it's because, I've asked some of my friends this, and we all kind of are speculating, do you think it's because P-Town is so close that people, and it was just such a given that Boston was queer friendly that it didn't feel the need to like build it up as such, because it's more like integrated, although I would argue it's not fully, but...
That checks out. That checks out. Like, if you are going to really lean into the queer vibe, you're going to pick P-Town over Boston.
Or even Providence.
Or even Providence. Yeah. And so that's, maybe we're just seeing like an exodus of the people who would, if they had stayed, really created the scene and made it fully vibrant and inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame, though. I mean... I love the gay neighborhoods in different cities. I think they add so much life to a city, and it is sleepy. I mean, Boston is sleepy anyway, but like that is part of the reason there isn't that.
Yeah, and it's not just nightlife; like it's day life too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Queer people like for the bathhouse, I want it to be a daytime space.
Yeah.
You can come right after work, or even like in the morning if you want. And so I think that's the kind of space that we really don't have and we really need.
Can you talk more about what the bathhouse will include? I think is it Reiki is one of the offerings?
Yeah, it's
by my friend Chris.
Yes, I love that we both know Chris.
I know, that's so funny. Small city.
Chris is a Reiki practitioner, yoga teacher, and somatics coach,
Awesome.
and he like really understands how trauma is carried in the body. So when I talked to him about my bathhouse concept, we agreed that it would be really important to have classes there and workshops, which is pretty unusual for a gay bathhouse.
Definitely.
But we want people to come and be able to do partner yoga or just different poses and exercises with other people to understand how their body is carrying trauma and heal from that. And I think also massage instruction. I would love to see a class where people can come into the room and learn to massage others with consent.
I will volunteer to be the test dummy.
Great. Exactly.
I'll get the massages.
You get a
that's
free massage, yeah. But I think like what a cool way to meet someone new without having to like talk to them or say where you work or where you live, but like just to practice like being in physical contact. You know, that's my vibe. I'm all about like people letting down their guard and like becoming a little bit closer.
Is the bathhouse going to be open to straight people?
I'm really glad you asked that because allies are 100% welcome at the bathhouse. Yeah. However, it is a queer space. So I want people to be mindful that they're going to be contributing to the space by being there. And so, you know, if it's a day spa people are looking for or a massage clinic or a yoga studio, there are plenty of those.
Yeah.
We have so few queer spaces. So if you're going to come, I really want people to understand that that's a queer space and you need to contribute to that somehow and not like take away from that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Definitely. Speaking of allies, what would you ask allies to do? Like, I hang a flag. Does that matter? Do you guys care that I hang a flag?
So much.
It matters
Really?
so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I only do it in June, though, because I don't support queer people outside of June.
We cease to exist outside of June.
You have my full support in June, and then I'm done with you.
I don't know how you feel about the flags, but I think like every time I see one, I just want to knock on the door and say
It
thank
makes
you.
me so happy. It makes it feel like a safe space to be yourself. And I think especially coming from a youth service background where I worked with a lot of queer kids, anytime that you see yourself represented out in the community, your true self as a young adult, it matters so immensely. So yes, keep up those flags.
Will
Even
do.
if you take it down July 1st, the night before, it really
Maybe I'll leave
honestly
it up all
matters.
summer this year.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I go
Okay.
through July because it also looks really pretty on my house.
It
so
is
I
very
don't
pretty.
wanna take it
And it
down.
matches the flowers in the front.
Exactly.
It's great. Yeah. What else? What else would you like to see more of from allies?
I think this applies to all parts of life, but listen to hear someone and not to respond. Listen to try to understand where they're coming from. That I think is right up there with the golden rule. Other ones are read about our history, read about who we are. Particular shout out to Just Bookish, or the store would absolutely love, hold your hand, show you probably every queer history book or a queer life book.
And she has a full dedicated section
Yes.
to LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
They
Yeah.
are, I can't speak highly enough of that space.
Yeah.
But yeah, read, watch, listen, find good sources like the Human Rights Coalition. A newer organization in Boston is the Queer Neighborhood Council. They are really, really new, but they're doing some really incredible, powerful stuff. So I'd absolutely check them out. And then another one is to just spend time in the queer community, spend time with us as individuals, get to know us as whole people, not just our sexuality, not just our gender. Get to know what makes us happy, what brings us joy, what makes us feel connected, what makes us feel included. Get to know what makes us upset, what makes us feel excluded, what makes us feel really intentionally excluded because of fear or just general hatred. Get to know us as individuals. And then I know this doesn't drive as many people crazy, but personally, I lose my mind internally when grown women refer to their friends, their other cis straight women friends, as their girlfriends. It drives me so crazy. It's like, so my real girlfriend is just someone I hang out with on Tuesday nights. It's like, no, she's my real girlfriend. It's a real relationship. And oh my God.
You feel like
Yeah.
it minimizes the importance
Yes,
of the
it does.
word.
And it's like, I went to the Patriots game with my girlfriends last week.
I kind of wish straight men would say they went out with their boyfriend.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that.
They don't say that, but
They
that'd be really
don't.
fun.
And I'm glad they don't. But yeah, you're right. It would be a fun switch flip.
That is a hilarious pet peeve.
It drives me so crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone get mad about that before.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
In my head, I might look cool, calm, and collected.
But you are fuming.
Inside, I am
Yeah,
fuming.
got it.
I think if I can add anything, I think that was such a good answer. And if I can add anything, it is also think about queer elders and queer youth in particular. I think like in Boston, we have so many amazing folks who were at Stonewall when that happened. And
Yes.
and like we just don't have a lot of space for them too. And so there are organizations where you can volunteer and like, you know, deliver meals, or you can hang out as a social companion. So yeah, I just want to advocate for those two populations and youth, of course, like the 18 to 22-year-olds. I think there's a lot of organizations for them, but they need
Yes.
mentorship.
Yep.
I grew up as a queer person with zero queer role models or adults I could talk to. And I
Yeah.
hope that's changed for Gen Alpha, but
I really hope so.
yeah, like that's where I think allies can be crucial.
I would add we should be thinking about elders all the time of all
Yes. Yeah.
demographics, because I do think the U.S. does a terrible job of taking care of its elder population, and we should be better about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's literally we're all going to be elders. Hopefully, we're going to
According
make
to
it
Joni-
that way.
According to
Hopefully.
Joni Ernst, we're all going to die. So,
Oh, let's
so
get
why
ready
do you
for
want health care?
Right?
that. Buckle up.
Love what's happening these days.
That's the worst.
So I'm going to wrap this up. I do want to ask you one more question, Hammad, about the bathhouse. You're still working on the process.
Yeah.
Where can people who want to be involved or want to help you with what you're doing, what can they do?
People should definitely check out the website,
Okay.
www.forge-boston.com.
Okay.
I am seeking investors as well. Right now, I'm about a third of the way
Okay.
to where I need my funding goal. So when I have a property and I have investors, then I can really go through the zoning process.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'll need the whole community to rally in support of this, because community support is how the city will know that it matters.
Yeah. Great. And same question to you. Well, not the same because you're not opening a bathhouse, but what would you like from folks who are interested in DotOut? You did mention board members would be good.
Yeah.
People signing up for the newsletter. Anything else?
Yeah, a handful of different things. But before I get there, I want to make sure that I have on the record that it's not just me leading this. It's the whole board. It's our community. We aren't making this transition just because I'm here. This has been
It's not your pet peeve that you're just kind of...
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is excited about.
It's you and all your girlfriends?
Yeah, me and all my girlfriends that I'm not romantically involved with at all for some reason. Come to Dot Stories. I know I had just mentioned that. It's one of my favorite spots. We are there starting in July. We'll have a more regular schedule of every third Thursday from, I believe it's 6 till 8.
At Just Bookish.
At Just Bookish,
And
yes.
is there a sign up or just show up?
That we do have a registration link.
Okay.
But I think maybe about a third of folks who are there have actually signed up.
Okay.
We need to work out a few more kinks. We just had, I think, our 4th or 5th session. Our next one is June 21st. It's a Saturday, which is off of our regular schedule. But the third Thursday this month is Juneteenth. So we didn't want to take away any actual Juneteenth time.
Yeah.
Because we get to be fun and super happy. We're gay all month long. Juneteenth is just one day. So we didn't want to step on their toes on that one.
I think you're actually gay even more than just the month, right?
No, I'm actually straight the
Oh,
rest
you
of the
are?
year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come to Dot Stories. Come to our events. Come to anything that we do. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what matters to you. We want this to be not just a handful of folks leading the charge. We want it to be a big community thing. We can't create these programs that make everybody feel included or represented if not everybody is included and represented in the planning of these programs and events.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have one more question for you. You
Sure.
already teased it, Kacie. Where is your favorite place to go to eat in Dorchester?
Ooh, all right. So as you know, I'm not much of a go out kind of girl.
So what's your
love-
favorite takeout place?
My favorite place to order from that I sit on my couch with is Demetrios and Kapow.
Where is Demetrios?
Demetrios is a couple blocks down from me on Dot Ave.
Okay.
It's kind of between Ashmont and Shawmut.
Is it near like El Barrio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Ah,
another.
okay.
That's probably in third.
I do like El Barrio.
I
Yeah.
love them so much.
And Kapow is great too. I'll have to check out Demetrios.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are the best. The
Awesome. Is it
absolute
pizza?
best.
What is it?
I believe it's Armenian American.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I will definitely. check
You
that
can't go
out.
wrong on a single thing on their menu.
Okay. Good to know. Hammad, how about you?
I do love JP Roti on Washington Street. It is only open, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but somehow in those 3 days they make enough money to cover the rest of the week because the roti is that good. So
Awesome.
highly recommend.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming in. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited about your project and I'm really interested in hearing more from DotOut.
Me
so
too.
Thank you so much for coming.
My
And happy
pleasure.
Pride Month.
Woo! Happy
Happy Pride.
Girlfriend high five.
Girlfriend high five.
You're such a troll.
The troll.